Today we are going to be looking at the broiler starter feed formula for female broilers. If you watched our previous video, the one we made for the male broilers, you will see some of the unique characteristics that were stated there that differentiates them from the females. We talked about their height, their growth rate, their comb and all. If you compare the two images, you will see some of those unique characteristics. Today we'll be looking at the feed formula for female broilers. All this is actually in a situation where you bought your day-old birds and they were sorted for you. But if they are not sorted, you can use any of the formulas for the start before you can now go to your finisher. We actually provide the feed formula for broiler finishers at the end of the day, but just for you to be on a safer side, we are trying to differentiate the male feed formula and the female feed formula. We can maybe later come up with a general one, but for now, be a professional in your field so that whatever comes to you, you will know how to handle it. Okay, going back to the raw materials and the formula, here we have for compounding 1000 kg of broiler starter mash for female broilers, which is a ton. We have maize for 500 kg, soybean meal 150 kg, full fat soya, popularly known as FFS, 74 kg, wheat offal 136 kg, soya oil 30 kg, DCP 16 kg, limestone 75 kg. Now we want to create an example where some of the things we're going to talk about later, still on the same video, but let me give you an idea. When we are talking about raw materials, we are actually looking at not the material used, but the source, what they tend to provide for your birds. On our previous video for that of the male broilers, we used limestone as an example to show that in limestone we are looking at a source of calcium. But what happens when there is no limestone? We have limestone alternatives like bone meal, oyster shell. If you actually watch that video, you will see an explanation on that. But here we are going to use soybean meal as an example. It's a source of protein, but it's not the only source of protein, because we have groundnut cake, popularly known as GNC, and others. What we're trying to cover up is a scenario where you got to your feed mill, maybe a market, anywhere you buy your raw materials from, and they tell you that okay, because you had maybe some soybean meal in mind while going, they said they don't have soybean and they have GNC. You shouldn't feel bad or reject it, because all you need is a good source of protein for your birds. So you can actually use that GNC as an alternative to soybean meal and still achieve the same results. While discussing some of the factors that can influence your feed formula, you mentioned about the availability and the cost. Let's take another example. You got to where they sell these materials and they tell you that the cost of purchasing GNC is cheaper than purchasing soybean meal. You know how much you have as per cash at hand or capital or whatever you budgeted for your feed. If you know that if you buy GNC, you purchase more in terms of quantity than when you're buying soybean meal, all you need to do is to convert your money to GNC, buy more, because the higher you buy, the more feed you're able to compound. Now, that being said, talking about the quantity of feed you can compound, this formula, though we tagged it for 1000 kg just for general use at average, doesn't mean that if you have lesser number of beds you cannot use the formula, or if you have more number of beds you cannot use the formula. If you have lesser number of beds, let's take 100 for instance, you know that 1000 divided by 10 is 100. Therefore, automatically, whatever quantity you have for each raw material divided by 10 gives you the quantity you need to produce for 100. Let's take a practical example. Here we have 500 kg of maize to make up 1000 kg of feed. Now we want to produce for 100 kg. All you have to do is to divide 500 by 10 to get 50. So instead of using 500 kg for 1000 and you're compounding for 100, you're using 50 kg of the same ration but for 100. Say a bean meal for instance for 1000 kg is 150. Then for 100 kg, that's 150 divided by 10, you get 15 kg, and so on. So that's exactly how you're going to have to divide everything you have for 1000 by 10 to get what you would need for 100. Similarly, in as much as we are trying to cover up for people who have a fewer number of beds, we also have people who have more. Let's take 10,000, still within the same range. For instance, 1000 times 10 is 10,000. Wheat offal for 1000 is 136 kg. If you multiply it by 10, you get 1360 kg. Now this 1360 kg is what you will need for wheat offal as a source for 10,000 kg of feed. Similarly, soya oil is required at the rate of 30 kg for 1000. If you multiply 30 kg by 10, you get 3000 kg, which is what you will require if you're producing for 10,000. And so on. This CP multiplied by 10, you get the figure you will need for 10,000. This CP divided by 10, you get the figure you will need for 100. 75 kg for limestone multiplied by 10, you get the figure you will need for 10,000. 75 kg divided by 10, you get the figure you will need for 100. Exactly the same formula. Then all you need to do is, if you're not compounding for either 10,000 or 100, you fit it into the figure that will help you get the actual quantity you want to multiply for. These are the remaining of the raw materials we'll be looking at. We have the broiler premise, toxin binder, salt, and so on. Now if you calculate all the formulas provided, the quantities provided so far, you will arrive at 1000 kg, which is a ton. Like I earlier said, there are certain factors that can alter the feed formula provided above, and they include but not limited to the following: the weather, then your location. One of the instances I gave when explaining the feed formula is that you go to where they sell these feeds, and maybe the one you have in mind is not what they sell, but they have an alternative that can give you the same nutrient requirements you actually need, but in a different source. So all you need to do is to get that source, and it will still serve you the same purpose. Then I also made mention of cost of raw materials. So it can also influence your formula, because if you have in mind to buy, let's say 10 kg of soybean meal, depending on how much you had, and you find out that the same amount of money you have can purchase 15 kg of granite cake, that's GNC, then you can purchase the 15 kg of GNC with the same amount, thereby reducing the cost of production, which is actually our major aim behind this. In agri for profit, we try to see how we can actually farm, not just to spend money, not just to invest, but to generate profit from there. Then the availability of raw materials. You can only purchase what they have at the factory. Whatever they don't have, unless you have another place to go check out for what you want. But based on what they have is available there at the store, that's what you're going to purchase. So the availability of the raw materials also influences the feed formula. There's so many other factors, but for now, let's cover up on these four major ones. Therefore, the above provided feed formula is subject to change or adjustment, which is why I would strongly recommend that you carry an expert within your area along. The reason why I made it this way within your area, I specified that is because only an expert within your own location can say, okay, this is what we have here that was for us. This is what people use that works for them. This is what my clients so far have been using here that works for us. So you can't call somebody in Nigeria to tell you what will work for you within a specific area in US or Canada, because that person will be advising you based on what is working for him or her clients or his clients within his or her own region. So you need an expert within your area to tell you, okay, this is what works within our locality. Also, always ensure to purchase your feed raw materials from a reputable source to ensure that the raw materials procured are at their best nutritional state, to avoid serving your birds unhealthy or contaminated feeds. I repeat, to avoid serving your birds unhealthy or contaminated feeds that will greatly affect your poultry birds. Why am I laying emphasis on this unhealthy or contaminated feeds? Sometimes the health of our flocks determines what we get as profit at the end of the day. You can't sell a bird that is dead, let's say sell for profit anyway, because you can discard them just to discard them, but you can never cover up what you will sell a healthy adult bird. An unhealthy bird opens room for so many factors. You start buying drugs, struggling between vet doctors to come and check them, thereby incurring more costs of production. At the end of the day, there is no guarantee that that bird will even survive. You may lose it. Why? Because of what they ate. That's if the problem is coming from the feed. A feed can be contaminated. So you have to be careful. In as much as we're trying to see how to reduce cost, part of our own advice too is to make sure that whatever you're giving is of greater value. If you give in something good, you get something greater. But if because they said one of our factors here is cost of raw materials, if because you see a factory that maybe their maize is contaminated, so because of that they want to reduce the cost and just discard the maize, and you see it as an opportunity as a farmer to acquire everything, you're causing more harm than good to your birds. Therefore, try as much as possible to ascertain that you're purchasing your feed raw materials from a reputable source, to ensure that the raw materials in question are at their best nutritional state, in order to avoid serving your birds feeds that you will end up spending more on. You can imagine buying maize very cheap only to spend that extra money on drugs or even lose the birds. So it's better you get that little that is okay than risking the health and life of your flock over a small difference. In summary, like I earlier said, the health of your flock largely depends on what you feed them. Yes, I said largely because what they take in goes a long way to determine how they perform, how healthy they are, and so many more. Therefore, feed your birds ad libitum regularly. That's feed your birds well. This is where proper management comes into play. I've seen some clients that they don't have much as startup capital, but they go and purchase 1,000-day-old chicks because it appears cheaper then. It's funny, yes, but scenarios like that happen. Before you venture into poultry farming, do your business plan. You know what your capital is. You know how much you're willing to invest. Therefore, do a business plan that covers the costs of which you have at hand and stock accordingly. Don't go and acquire more birds with a smaller capital to feed, because okay, now let's reason this together. You purchased 1,000-day-old chicks because they appeared cheaper. You had money to feed them for like maybe a month. After 1 month feeding, you don't have another source of income then, or maybe the one you have is coming in lesser than what you're spending. The birds start to lose weight. That's natural. The process of losing weight, you start buying drugs thinking it's a disease or something. You're spending, you're borrowing, you're incurring more costs. Something you should have just prevented by raising the little you can and manage them well. Feed them well, achieve the result that you desire, make sales and stock another one. Then you can increase gradually because there's always room for expansion. Instead of losing all the birds out of mismanagement, why don't you grow gradually according to your capital? Because that's the best. That's why I said, therefore, feed your birds ad libitum. Chicken is something that you can say, hey bros, hold on, let me come back. You guys can take water. I don't think I have money today. I want to go and borrow. If I get the loan and processing, I'll buy your feed on your way back. While you're still speaking English to them, get ready to start packing mortalities, because they won't listen to you. They will die. You will lose both the cost of stocking, cost of production, even the cost you would have gotten after sales. So it's not just about investing, it's about investing wisely. It's about doing this agriculture for profit. You get? So for you to attain the maximum profit you're looking at, everything needs to be in order, everything needs to be balanced. Which is why on my feed formula, I don't just give you feed formula for 1000 kg to assume that everybody is a big time farmer. No, I gave you the average feed formula at a ton. Then I gave you an idea of how you can even reduce that formula to meet up the little you have for as low as 100 kg feed production. Even at that 100 kg, if it's still much for you, you can still subdivide up till the quantity you want. Then I also considered those with larger farms, so I gave the formula 2 for 10,000. That does not mean you cannot be one of them in few years to come. So the formula covers for lesser farmers, low or higher farmers, average farmers, every poultry farmer that is on into broiler production. So rather than thinking I want to get there faster, so you spoil things, get there gradually and remain there, because there's some things you also learn in the field. Everything we talk about here is not just internet farmer, it's practical. You can also check out our website www.ibreakforprofit.com.ng. I used .com.ng because I'm using my country, Nigeria, which is where I am, as the pilot study zone. I can't generalize agriculture. Agriculture is not done on the internet, it's done on the soil, it's done on the land. That's where you farm. So I can't tell you I'm talking to everybody. There's some things that can be general, and there's some things that are practical. Farming is one of those practical things that you have to just talk out of experience, not just say it there on the internet for everybody to see. No. So the .com.ng is our zone. So whatever factor we find out here, I bring it out to limelight. And because I cannot teach all my clients visiting the farms one after the other, I try to go more on social. Created a site, do videos to cover up for further explanation, do one-on-one chats for people who want to reach me directly. And if you have your questions and you're outside within our own region, outside country, wherever, you're welcome to try the pilot study in your own zone. Look out for what works for you. At least have this as a guide. If you visit our sites, there's some other crops, we talk about a lot there. So all you have to do is just visit www.ibreakforprofit.com.ng. Check out all the posts you need. Some of them are not actually within zone anyway. Those ones that are literally more on theory, you get the theory ones generalized, but the practical ones I try to make it real, not just making it real, something that is real, something that is practicable, not something that you just speak all the English and when you go there try it out you cannot get the result. Please, the reason why I'm saying all this is you have to be careful, because when we're talking about agriculture, poultry farming in particular, we're talking about handling lives, we're talking about living things, and any little mistake from your end can spoil the sweat you've been through. Now we're talking about feed formula to raise broiler starter. This thing has to come from brooding stage, I guess. You understand what I mean? And brooding is not as fun as you think it is. It's stressful. People in the field know what I'm talking about. So imagine the pain of brooding your birds from day old. The stress of, is it even the light, the routine management. In fact, if I start explaining, we will not leave this video today. But imagine the pain a farmer will feel after raising that bird from day old to probably, let's say, week 5. When you think, okay, now I can start counting how many I have, aside from the normal mortalities that occur. And then you gave your bird a feed that would now kill it at week 5. Can you imagine the pain? This is why I still strongly plead, let me not suggest anymore, plead that you adhere to this general saying that you should cut your coat according to your size. Yes, because we're talking about living things here, and these are things you can keep on hold while you go and source for fund. No, you have to answer them, and they eat. These people can eat. If they eat for you, really. So please, before you even start talking, make sure that you have your money. You have at least something that can cover you for a period of time, depending on when you get more, or depending on when. And there must be a standby. When you're talking about getting more, I'm not talking about processing a loan that you don't know whether it's coming or not. I mean a sure source of income. Let's say you have a farm as a backup, then you have a salary income somewhere that you're sure that at the end of every month you're getting so amount of money from here. That's the kind of income money I'm talking about. Not I'm still looking at someone that promised me money, I'm looking at a loan that I'm processing, I'm looking at this and that. No, let's not rely on probability here, let's work on reality, because that's the only thing that works in agriculture and poultry farming in particular more. Alright, so this is where we're going to be wrapping up for today, and I encourage you to subscribe to our channel for more amazing videos. I promise to be carrying you along as how they work practically. Thank you for taking out your time to watch, and do have a lovely day. Bye for now.